And welcome back. We're moving on to functions. A function is basically the basic concept of taking code and pulling it into its own little separate thing. So we've been writing linear code sitting inside main. So line after line after line after line of code with branching and looping and all kinds of stuff happening here. And you can imagine as things get bigger, tens of thousands of lines of code, this could be a problem. You really don't want that much code uh, bouncing around in one linear function to try to find things. So we extract pieces of code to make what's called a function. Now, a function is basically the concept of isolated code that does one thing and does one thing well. They're structured like this. They've got a return type. They've got a name. And they got a parameter list. And then they've got the body of the function. So if you look at this, this looks just like main because main is a function. And if you recall, I used that before. So main is a function with an integer return type that has no parameters as a default with the body of the code sitting in between the two braces. A function does exactly the same thing. Now, we're going to start with the simplest type, which is the simplest return type, which would be a void return type. That says this function will execute. We'll give it a name called header. The header function will execute and return nothing to anybody, and it doesn't need anything to do its job. So functions, by definition, what goes in the parameter list is the stuff that it needs to actually work. So you're handing stuff to it to say, here, use this and go do something. In this case, the function header is just going to do this. It's just going to print a little message that says, hello, I am the function. And down here in main is where we're actually going to call our function. Now, we've been calling them, and I think I covered this here later and earlier. We've been calling functions all along. Cin ignore is a function of cin. Cin clear is a function of cin. How do you know? Well, the .member accessor tells you that you're accessing something inside cin, but the function name is there and clear is there. So these are things that we've been doing. Pow, if you remember, pow was a function that took two numbers. It actually had a couple of parameters that it used to determine what your exponentiation was going to be. All these functions have been used in libraries that we've been given. So now it's our turn to write ourselves, our own little functions. If I want to call the function, I call it with the name of the function and a couple of parentheses. And that will actually run this function. It'll call up, and away it'll go. So if we run it, hello, I am the function. See, main calls header. Header, it bounces the code from line 9 to line 3. Line 3 processes the code. It says, okay, I've got the function header. I've got no parameters. Execute the code. When I hit the closing brace, return control back to the line that called me, and then proceed to the next line. So this is the way things work. They bounce up or down and sideways to whichever place they need to go to be able to run this piece of code. So you can have multiple functions all doing multiple things. Normally you have to make sure that your function names actually really should have like a name that shows an action because these are functions. So you could name them something like print header and print another header. They follow the same rules that we had for naming variables because they fundamentally are a variable. They just have headers, they have code space in them. So print another header. And now I've got two. I can call print header, it comes back. I can call print another header, it goes up, it comes back, and everybody will keep on running. This is a simple introduction to what functions are. So this just shows you that you can declare functions, as many as you need. Each function should do one thing and one thing well. They can be called from main or, as you'll see soon, any other function, and they execute in the order you specify. They can be called inside if statements, while statements, do while statements, switch statements, for statements. Anything that can run a line of code can run a function call. And that's exactly what you've got. Here's the function. Here's the function call. Hope you're having a great day.